You check your phone again. Nobody texted back. Your chest tightens just a little. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. But it does matter more than you'd like to admit. Most people think loneliness is just sadness with no clear cause, a mood, a bad week. But the real answer is far stranger. Loneliness is not a mood at all. It is an alarm, a signal your body built over millions of years to keep you alive. And the fact that it still fires today in a warm house with a phone full of contacts tells you something unsettling about what your brain actually thinks is happening to you. Picture your ancestors on the open savanna 60,000 years ago. No walls, no locks, no street lights, just grass, shadow, and the constant possibility of teeth in the dark. A human alone out there was not peaceful. A human alone was prey. Group size meant survival. More eyes meant more warning. More hands meant more defense. A person cast out of the group, even for a day, faced a dramatically higher chance of being killed, starved, or lost. So evolution did what it always does. It built a warning system. Not for hunger, not for thirst, for isolation itself. That warning system is loneliness. Dr. John Cacioppo, a social neuroscientist who spent decades studying isolation at the University of Chicago, called this the evolutionary theory of loneliness. His research found something remarkable. Loneliness activates the same brain regions as physical pain, not similar regions, the same ones. When you feel excluded, your anterior cingulate cortex, the region that fires when you touch a hot stove, lights up in almost the same pattern. Your brain is not speaking in metaphor when it says isolation hurts. It means it literally. Why would evolution do that? Because pain works. Pain gets your attention. Pain makes you act. If loneliness felt like nothing, you would have no reason to fix it. But if loneliness feels like your hand is on a burner, you scramble to pull it back. You call someone, you seek a group. You do whatever it takes to stop the signal. This is the part most people never realize. Loneliness is not a flaw in your design. It is a feature, a very old, very effective one. But like most ancient systems, it was built for a world that no longer exists. Here is where it gets stranger. Your brain cannot tell the difference between being alone on a dark plain surrounded by predators and being alone in a bright, safe apartment with functioning locks and a refrigerator full of food. The threat detection system does not check your actual danger level. It checks a much cruder measurement. How many people do you feel connected to right now? That single question, buried deep in ancient neural circuitry, still runs constantly in the background. Feel connected? Alarm off. Feel disconnected? Alarm on. It does not matter if you're physically surrounded by neighbors, coworkers, or 500 online followers. If you do not feel bonded to them, the ancient system reads that as danger. This explains something that confuses a lot of people. You can be lonely in a crowd. You can scroll through hundreds of messages and still feel completely unseen, because the alarm was never measuring how many humans are nearby. It was measuring whether those humans would come running if you needed them. Researcher Julianne Holt-Lunstad at Brigham Young University ran one of the most cited studies on this exact question. She analyzed data from over 300,000 people and found that chronic loneliness carries a health risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, comparable to obesity, comparable to physical inactivity. Her conclusion was blunt. The body treats social disconnection as a legitimate threat to survival, not a passing emotional inconvenience. Think about that for a moment. Your immune system responds to loneliness. Chronic isolation raises inflammation markers in the blood. It disrupts sleep. It raises cortisol, the same stress hormone that spikes when you're being chased. Your body is not being dramatic. It is running the oldest program it has. Alone equals unsafe. Unsafe equals stress. Stress equals a body constantly bracing for an attack that never comes. So what happens when that alarm never turns off? This is where the twist gets uncomfortable. Short-term loneliness works exactly as designed. It pushes you toward people. It makes solitude uncomfortable enough that you seek connection, repair a friendship, or reach out to someone you have been avoiding. That is the system doing its job well. But chronic loneliness breaks the mechanism. When the alarm rings for too long without resolution, something strange happens in the brain. Cacioppo's research found that prolonged loneliness actually increases social threat sensitivity. Lonely people, over time, become more likely to interpret neutral behavior as rejection. A friend who takes an hour to reply is read as pulling away. A joke among coworkers is read as exclusion. The very system meant to drive you toward people starts pushing you further from them, because it has recalibrated the world as more hostile than it actually is. It is a survival mechanism turning against the person it was built to protect. Like a smoke detector, so sensitive, it starts going off from steam in the shower, until eventually you just take the batteries out. Except you cannot remove this alarm. You can only learn what it is actually asking for. And here's the counterintuitive part almost nobody expects. The fix is not more contact. Studies on loneliness intervention, including work reviewed by Holt-Lunstad's team, consistently found that simply increasing the number of social interactions barely moves the needle. What matters is not quantity. It is whether you feel like someone would show up for you if something went wrong. That single variable, felt reliability, is what your ancient brain is actually scanning for. Not friend counts, not likes, not group size. Reliability. The tribe-era brain does not care how many people know your name. It cares how many people would come looking for you if you disappeared. This is why some people with enormous social circles still feel hollow, and some people with 2 or 3 close relationships feel completely secure. The alarm was never about volume. It was about whether the group would actually protect you. Now think about the modern world you actually live in. You have more digital connections than any human in history. Hundreds of contacts, group chats, notifications all day. And yet, loneliness rates tracked across the US, UK, and Japan over the last 2 decades have climbed rather than fallen, because the ancient system measuring your safety is not counting messages. It is measuring bonded proximity, and most digital contact does not register as that. It is calories without nutrients. Contact without commitment. Your brain is still living on the savanna. It does not know what a smartphone is. It does not know what a like means. It only knows one ancient equation: isolated from the group equals in danger. And it will keep ringing that alarm generation after generation until the actual variable changes, until you feel at a bone-deep level that someone would come. So the next time that ache shows up, the quiet dread when a room feels too empty or a text goes unanswered for hours, Remember what it actually is. It is not weakness. It is not overthinking. It is not a personality flaw you need to fix by trying harder to be interesting or likable. It is 60,000 years of survival instinct, mistaking your living room for open grassland. Your body is not asking you to be more popular. It is asking a much older, much simpler question. Is there someone who would come for you? You check your phone again. Nobody texted back. But maybe now you know exactly what that feeling is trying to tell you, and exactly what it has been trying to tell every human who ever lived alone in the dark.